And I do believe maybe the reason they're saying by the end of the year, early next year, I know our final deadline on this filing is January 10th. And so, and I think we're first in line. But as you say, a number of Bitcoin ETFs could be approved at the same time.
여러 비트코인 현물 ETF가 동시에 승인될 수 있다고 말함과 동시에 자신들이 그 첫 번째 줄에 서 있다고 말하고 있는 인물은 돈나무언니로 유명한 아크 인베스트먼트의 CEO 캐시우드입니다. 현재 비트코인 현물 ETF 승인에 대한 크립토 시장의 기대감이 나날이 커져가고 있고, 최근 SEC도 비트코인 현물 ETF를 대하는 스탠스가 과거와는 180도 확연하게 반전된 만큼 크립토 시장의 가장 큰 변곡점이 될 수 있는 대형 이벤트 비트코인 현물 ETF의 방향성과 승인 가능성에 대한 캐시우드의 인사이트에 대해서 함께 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
Making that long-awaited ETF a lot more likely. We're very close right now. Joining us now, someone's very much got a dog in that fight. ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood. Cathie, you're one of 9 applicants for a spot Bitcoin ETF. It looks like the SEC is going to be forced to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF. What, if any, communications have you had with the SEC about your application? Where are we in this whole thing?
I think it was last week that we had responded to the SEC's request for information around our Bitcoin filing, and we responded. And that's basically all we can say. I think many people think the fact that the SEC chose to ask questions is a change in behavior. And therefore, I do think hopes are rising that a number of Bitcoin ETFs will be approved.
My understanding is the court now is going to issue a mandate about how to enforce their decision here to the SEC, and their SEC is going to basically follow that mandate. Everybody is assuming at this point that they'll probably approve most of the Bitcoin ETFs by the end of the year. Is that's a reasonable assumption at this point? They lost the court case. They chose not to appeal it at this point.
Right. And I do believe maybe the reason they're saying by the end of the year, early next year, I know our final deadline on this filing is January 10th. And so, and I think we're first in line. But as you say, a number of Bitcoin ETFs could be approved at the same time.
Now, your flagship ARK Innovation Fund's up 20% this year. You're outperforming the S&P, but you've had significant outflows this year. Can you talk about that? You know, you're outperforming, and yet you're having outflows. Tell us a little bit about what impact, for example, higher rates are having on your holdings this year. That seems to be a major issue.
Well, I think there are a couple of things going on. If you'll remember, in late 20 and early 21, the flows were enormous into our funds, and I was uncomfortable at the time because we thought there was a lot of momentum chasing going on, and we said at that time, keep some powder dry. Little did we know how big the correction would be. This is sort of the flip side of that. We're feeling much more comfortable right now, but we did have, through July, a very significant rally. I do think there's been some profit taking there, and I do think, as you say, rising rates have concerned a lot of people. There's been a shift into cash, and we've seen very recently a shift into bonds. And interestingly, the flows into bonds would suggest that we should not be far behind, because if bonds are going to rally, and we think they will, at some point here, as inflation continues to come down, as the economy continues to go through rolling recessions of sorts, we think that the backdrop will be right for a resurgence in growth stocks generally, and in particular, long duration innovation growth assets like ours.